Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel where the Force is family. I am Master Paul, and for the last time, my guest tonight,
Golgo 13 of Golgo 13's Anime 101.
yes, and this is the conclusion of our talk on Star Wars Visions every episode, and we are going to be talking about, and I'm going to let you pronounce this word, man.
I believe it's pronounced Akakiri.
Yes, that word. So, this is the one you said just before we started filming this that this confused you the most.
Yes.
Me personally, I was not that confused. I saw exactly what this was. It was an allegory for Anakin's turn to the dark side, wanting to protect Padme. And that's pretty much what we see here. We have this Jedi that's not very secure in his beliefs, that is going when he's not supposed to help out this young girl and her people take down a Sith. But he's plagued by these visions of people dying, and these visions turn out to be true, where he ends up killing the girl that he was helping in a duel against the Sith Lord. And he's completely beside himself with grief, and so the Sith Lord offers, join me and I can teach you how to save her. And to his credit, the Sith Lord does do that, and the girl is brought back to life. But the Jedi has now pledged himself to the Sith, so he puts up his hood at the very end of the episode and follows his new master.
Yeah. This one, the journey, I guess, is what's important about this episode as opposed to the final destination.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as a Star Wars story goes, yeah, it's been done before. As far
Better, I'd
as
say.
yeah, as far as yeah, this one you've got an insecure Padawan or an insecure Jedi who has that attachment to let me see if I can find the name here. To Misa. So the main character is Subaki.
Mm-hmm.
He basically loves Misa, but he starts to have visions of her dying. So he goes back against against his better judgment and against the judgment of his master. He goes back to the planet that Misa is from. She's a princess who has been deposed by her, I believe it was her aunt or step aunt or something like that, who turns out to be a Sith Lord, and not just any Sith Lord, a very powerful one. And her
Yes.
name is Masago. Now, to get to the palace to be able to challenge her, they have to go through and avoid detection. So they hire people, two characters to help them, which have a good back and forth banter, very similar to how R2D2 and C3PO does. And they're
I
both they're
disagree.
both voice acted extremely well.
I
The
disagree
voice
on that
acting on
one.
this is incredible.
Voice acting,
So
yes, but as far as being as good as R2 and 3PO, not a
no,
chance
it's
to me. It got
yeah, from the Star
annoying.
Wars side, it's hard to top that, but they try, and they do have a lot of fun doing that. But getting to where they're needing to go, the visions get stronger and stronger until they get to the palace, where they are confronted by Masago, and through her manipulations, make the vision that Tsubaki had come true. And once
Mm-hmm.
Tsubaki realizes what's happened, he is in the absolute throes of despair, killing his love, killing his friend. When Masago offers the one thing that Anakin wanted, but Palpatine couldn't deliver,
Mm-hmm.
was that if Sabaki agrees to join Masago as her apprentice, that she would save them. He agrees, and they actually do it. And
Yeah.
yeah, this is a tough one. The art style is very different, a lot more basic, not as not as overdone. Not it doesn't have the more traditional anime style to the structure for both the male and the female characters. it's very different. I can't recall any other that looks similar to this. Not like how I can with La Pinocho or with the Ninth Jedi. They definitely look like most other animes out there, very similar structure to the facial features, how things move and work and everything. But yeah, when Princess Misa is awoken from being healed and asks what Tsubaki has done, she is in her own horror and despair that he
Yes.
agreed to that when she told him that it's not worth it. But to him, she was, even at the cost of his own soul and going down the path of the dark side and causing who knows how much more pain and despair. In his mind, that was the only way that he could go forward.
Right. And by the way, while you were saying that, I looked up what this word meant, and it literally translates to red fog in reference to the visions that he was having. So
Okay.
that little bit of detail there I think is pretty interesting. But yeah, like I said, it's an allegory for Anakin's fall, and I believe that Anakin's story was told better because this had at most 15 minutes to tell the story, where Anakin had 3 whole movies. Technically 6 when you count his redemption back. So, ranking on this one, what would you say?
Well, as a Star Wars story, give me just a second here. Let me think. As a Star Wars story, it's definitely a sadder story, and
Mhm.
we know that people fall. So I'm gonna give it a 3. It it does its job, even though it doesn't have enough time to really do it. From the
Right.
anime point of view, it's definitely very beautiful. It's very unique, very different than all the others. Just like how the duel is different than all the other ones. This one is
Mhm.
also different. So for the style itself, it's really good. For the fluidity of motion, it's pretty good. As far as how does it fit into what I know of traditional Japanese animation from the from the either from the early days like the 70s and 80s up to now, I have to give this one a 3 across the board. It just,
Okay.
while it's pretty, it does not grab me and hold on to me like how the other ones do. So yeah, that's it's okay, but out of all of them, including all the ones prior, this one is my least favorite.
Yeah. Um between this one and the twins, I'm still debating which one's my least favorite because it's, do I want an original story that just goes completely off the rails to the point that I find it completely ridiculous? Or do I want something that I've seen before, but what I had seen before did it better? That's kind of the dilemma that I'm at with this one. Ranking wise, I'm giving this one a 2.5 out of 5. Because again, I've seen this before with Anakin, and I think Anakin's story is told much better.
Yeah. Yeah, that it
And
is.
honestly, personally, when presented with two different scenarios, because yeah, his story ends differently where he does get to see his love come back and Anakin doesn't. But honestly, I think the fact that Padme didn't get saved, which, to be fair, they couldn't do that because she wasn't in the original trilogy. But the fact that Padme didn't get saved just makes the tragedy of Anakin's fall even more gut punching. Where, you know, she does come back, and yeah, it's upset that she has to see her friend turn to the dark side like that. But at the same time, technically, Subaki got what he wanted with Misawa coming back to life, where Vader truly is destroyed physically, spiritually, emotionally, alliance wise. He loses everything. And to have brought back Padme would have just taken away from that for me.
Yeah. And this guy, he loses everything. including his soul, and who, Anakin had the same problem, but it doesn't look like that for that for this one that there's a way forward for him to be redeemed, unless Misa, in another tale that may be forthcoming, can find a way to reach him and to turn against his master and to be strong enough to actually overcome this particular Sith Lord was
Yeah.
amazingly overpowered
Oh
in
yes, good job.
comparison to all
Good.
the other Sith Lords we've seen. Even I would put this person on par with Palpatine, if not further. Maybe more like a Darth
I could
Bane
see that.
or let me think here for a sec. A Darth Treya
Or
or
Revan.
or yeah, I would say even more powerful than Revan, because with Revan, he didn't have the ability to raise a person to heal them when after they were killed.
No,
I
no.
would put this person on power level with Darth Nihilus.
Yeah.
But then again, with Nihilus, once you give in to that level of dark side, you eventually starve yourself and become a little easier to kill.
Yes. So, yeah, like I said, this episode's pretty much bottomed here for me. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end this video here. So thank you guys for watching, not just this video, but all the videos that we made previously in this series. Final question, Brandon, before we completely end this video.
Mm-hmm.
As a whole, what would you say about Star Wars Visions? Was this a worthy experiment for Disney to do with Lucasfilm? And do you think we could potentially see more given the reception that it's gotten so far?
That is a good question, and I'm going to break this up into two thought processes. The same as what I've been doing, from the Star Wars fan point of view and from an anime fan's point of view. From a Star Wars fan point of view, absolutely. This is exactly what Star Wars needed. It needed something different, fresh, unique. Even if some of the stories, had been done before, they hadn't been done like this. And Star Wars needs this kind of fresh takes. So from a Star Wars standpoint, I give it an 8. Now, on the anime side, if you were to lump Japanese anime, the whole industry, into a singular package or a singular business, did they need Star Wars? No, they do not. Star Wars needs them more than they need Star Wars. So as far as dedicated anime purists go, Visions may be of an interest, a curiosity, something to maybe watch every now and then, but is it appointment television? No. Is it something that they're going to go back to over and over and over again, like My Hero Academia? No. This is going to be something that's going to be more of an indifference thing. It exists.
Right.
They acknowledge that it exists, but at the end of the day, it's not something that they're going to set their clock to or run their schedule around. Not like how they do with shows like Demon Slayer or Berserk or My Hero Academia or Fire Force or any of these shows that are current, that are going when they come out when a new season comes out, that they're right there, regardless of the time of day that it is. They're there watching it when it drops live on Japanese television or Japanese streaming services. So from an anime standpoint, a lot of it was beautiful. Some of it confused me. All the studios overall did a very good job, but there were some things that were done that were specifically done for an American audience as opposed to things that would have been done for a Japanese audience. So from that point of view, from that aspect, I can only give it a 5. Now, there's lots of room for improvement. If Lucasfilm decides to have this done again, any studio that gets hired to do this, they've got to exercise a little more control over it. Well, they did have a lot of control, and you can see that. Somebody that's more proficient than I am pointed out to me the various points where that's not how it would have been done in a Kurosawa film. That's not how it's typically done in a Japanese animation show. The little nuances that are changed to appease to an American audience, which I think we're so desensitized to all the wokoso crap out there that we don't notice. But to
I
those that,
didn't.
yeah, I didn't either. But once it was explained to me and shown, now that I know it exists, it makes more sense. And that's why I can only give it, from that side of it, a 5. Overall, even with the anime side being so low, I like it well enough that I myself am willing to forgive some of those things and enjoy it for what it is. More reasonably reasonable quality level Star Wars that we as Star Wars
Yes,
fans have been clamoring for a long time. Give us some good Star Wars, we'll watch it and we'll
I
enjoy it
agree.
and we'll spread the word
Yes.
about it. And this, well, not perfect, it's definitely better. It's definitely better than pretty much everything else they've done, with the exception of The Mandalorian. I think it's on par with it, and
Hmm.
also Rogue One. Everything else from, the cinematic Antichrist, Jar Jar Abrams, and from Ruin Johnson, this thing is head and shoulders above all of it.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. And then the other question I asked, do you think they will likely do a sequel to this based on the
They better.
reception it's gotten?
I think this has had a good enough reception, and I believe that it has fulfilled exactly what it needed to do. Something fresh, something new, something to try. And as an experiment, I do believe overall it was successful. Now, some more successful than others. If I was to go back through and expand on stories or make longer, maybe one season stints for some of these shows, absolutely. The Ninth Jedi, Lapa Nocho, um,
Hmm.
the Duel.
Maybe
I
even
would love to see
the
more of the
duel. Yeah,
Ronin, and maybe even Tatooine Rhapsody. Go on tour with them.
yeah,
I could see all of those being made into either a 10, a 13, or even a standard 26 episode single season show.
right. So for me, again, looking at this strictly from Star Wars, I 100% agree that this is something that Star Wars has needed more than what anime has needed. Because even as someone as out of touch with anime as I am, I know that compared to what Western creative studios, even outside of Disney, like DC and Marvel, anime is blowing them out of the water, and deservedly so because of what DC and Marvel are putting out these days. So the fact that Star Wars has had to turn to something so successful as anime to revitalize itself is not surprising to me at all. And the result that we've gotten with this was absolutely a breath of fresh air, the likes of which we haven't had with Star Wars since, I would say, chapter 16 of The Mandalorian when Luke returned.
Yep.
Now, I will concede that for some Star Wars fans, this is not for them at all. I was willing to give this a chance, even not being an anime fan, just because I wanted more Star Wars, and I'm glad I did. Though there will be some that just decide to pass this off because it's anime. Who cares? Either best case scenario, I only care about the live action stuff, or worst case scenario, I don't care about Star Wars at all anymore due to certain events that happened we won't talk about. But I'm glad I watched this. I would love to see a second iteration of this. Ranking wise, I would also give it an 8 out of 10 as far as Star Wars is concerned. So, um, and also one other thing, I just thought of this question before we end. What if this Star Wars Visions was, and you kind of went down this train of thought a little bit with your response, what if this was a big experiment to like choose one of these studios that arguably handled everything all around the best and give them a full series, if not maybe a full anime movie set in Star Wars? Could you see that as a possibility?
I would hope so, because these episodes were created by by people that love Star Wars.
Hmm.
You know, it obviously showed they did the stories that they had were definitely very unique and a lot of them very Japanese, even if they were tamed down a bit for the American audience. I can see this as being a jumping off point for either a studio or a set of studios being able to do either a feature length movie or doing a one off series. That would be good. And if I had to choose who to do that,
I would.
Production IG could do it because they've done it before.
Yes. Hmm.
Geno Studios, this is their first foray into something like this, and they did very well. And even I would go with Trigger or even Kamikaze Duga. Kamikaze Duga is not known for doing anything of any length. They're traditionally a cutscene creator. That's what they
Right.
typically do. They do a lot of cinematic scenes for games and for opening sequences or title sequences for anime. So this is a bit of out of their wheelhouse. But if they gave something to Production IG, you bet your bottom dollar that they would do the best they can, living within the limitations that Disney imposes on them, like a PG or PG-13 level product. They're not typically known for that, so yeah, they did what they could given the restraints that they were in.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Thank you, Golgo, for doing all of this with me. They won't know it until I mention this, but we literally knocked all this out in a single night, and this is take 2 of this video. So thank you for being patient with me and my tech limitations to get this done. It was amazing talking with you about this.
You bet.
Yeah.
Always. Anytime you need something from me, just let me know. I'll be there for you.
Absolutely. So again, guys, like always, just remember, hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to Golgo 13's Anime 101 if you want some more anime insight. And just remember, guys, the Force is family. See you guys later.
The Force is family. See ya.